All right, look at the fit. Feel the fit. Yeah, look at this fit, baby. Oh, I look so good. I know I do. Yeah. Yeah, I know I look good. Ignore that empty chair behind me. There's no one coming on this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Elijah, and we are here with episode 3 of the Manager Shift Podcast. What do y'all think of the fit? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you like the jacket, let me show y'all off one more time. Come on. Strike a pose. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, boys. Oh, I look good as hell. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I had to gas myself up a little bit. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is doing absolutely amazing. I know I am. Now, look, I know I said that this episode was going to be with friends. We forgot to record. We're so responsible. Me and my friends are so responsible. If you can't tell, we are on top of things. So, Halloween passed. That's pretty cool. The day of filming this is November 2nd, which is also my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, mother. We actually had a really nice, lovely lunch today. I don't know why I grabbed right there. We had a really nice, lovely lunch today. I went out with my mom and my sister. And we sat down. Me and my sister talk a lot. We had a lot in common, which I didn't really know. Well, I knew we had stuff in common. We had a lot more in common. I actually learned a few things about my sister that I didn't know. And, you know, 22 or 24-year-old Elijah didn't know that his sister played Animal Crossing. And when I learned that she was like building her museums and stuff like that, it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, man, what do I not know about her? You would think I would know more, right? But I don't. That was crazy. But I had a really nice day. After my lunch with my mother and my sister, I went to a few stores. I went to go look around. I went to go look for some socks because I don't know about you guys, but me personally, my socks all have holes in them. Why do we get so many holes in our socks? That's one of the most annoying things in the world. Like, I would say 90% of my socks have massive holes where the heel is, and that's annoying. So I went to go look for some new socks today because your boy wants no more holes in his socks, other than the hole that you put your foot in, obviously. But yeah, that was really my day today. Oh my god, why do I always have hiccups when I do the podcast? Every time I film this podcast, I have hiccups. I really don't know why. But anyways, Halloween was this past weekend. It was this past Friday. And that was really fun. I dressed up as Huggy Wuggy from the Poppy Playtime series. That was really fun. We did a stream where we reacted to some horror content. And we'll also watch some bears. Because if you know me, you know that we love bears here, especially Freddy Fazbear. He's kind of the GOAT. I'm just saying, he's kind of the GOAT. But we watched some of that. I meant to watch a Nick Crowley video, but we kind of forgot to do that. But it was really nice dressing up this year. It's been really nice. It's been Halloween with some of you guys. That was really fun. Hopefully everyone here had a nice Halloween. Let me know down in the comments what you wore for your costume this year, if you wore a costume. And yeah, tell me what you did this Halloween. I know we're back here in the green screen background. Sorry about that. I'm kind of filming this late at night because I've been out all day. But I hope you still enjoy it. Again, like I said in the last podcast, this is more of an audio podcast anyway. So I expect you to listen to this while driving to work or on the bus to school or while you're cleaning the house. I'm assuming you're not actually sitting there watching on your phone or computer me sit here in front of a green screen. I'm assuming you're just listening. I mean, that's what I do with my podcast, at least. I listen to this one podcast called the Regulation Podcast, and it's a complete audio podcast. Sometimes I'll put pictures on the screen, but majority of the time it's just 4 guys talking over Discord, and they have like a background of like an ocean while they talk, and I love that concept. But we could also do like VR and have a set, which I said in the last 2 podcasts we will eventually get a set. But yeah, anyways, that's the reason why we're here with the green screen. Thank you so much, by the way, for all the support that the first 2 episodes have gotten. Hopefully episode 3 will be just as good as episode 1 and 2. My favorite so far has definitely been episode 2. That was really fun. I really got emotional with y'all and opened up a little bit about myself, and hopefully you guys like that vulnerable side of me. I like showing you that side, and hopefully I'll show you more. This week, I'm really going to be talking about my week, and maybe tell some stories of my past. People have asked me about my job experiences and like all the jobs I've worked, and so I'll go into that too after I finish telling my week. This week, I didn't stream as much as I usually do. I took a few nights off this week, mostly because I was filming some videos. I was filming some VR chat videos. If you know what VR chat is, you may be baffled that I'm playing that game. I promise you, I'm not one of those weirdos with phantom pain. But I was definitely trying to do my best to film content, kind of like a YouTuber named Proximity Chat, which is so wild because I actually end up meeting Proximity Chat in one of these worlds, and that was a amazing time. I was starstruck. I genuinely felt like I met like a hero because I love his videos. And he gave me the inspiration, and he's the one who got me back on the game to try to do this content that I was doing. But I ended up being at this bar, and one thing led to another, and somehow I became the owner of the bar. And so I made a video. It's like an hour and a half long of me running this bar that I need to break up, because obviously that video needs edited. If you know VR chat, you know things people say. So words need to be blurred or censored. The video needs to be compressed and shortened just a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for that. That will be coming out soon on the channel. I'm really happy about that. We played Into the Pit this past week. I know we didn't finish Security Breach, but we did start off Into the Pit, and those videos will also be posted on the channel soon enough later this week. As you're watching this, it's already November 3rd. It's Monday. So later in this week on the channel, the Into the Pit videos will be up, and finishing Security Breach will be coming soon too. Now, someone in my Discord, I'm calling you out right here, asked me about, does finishing the game feel like a chore? Because the last time I streamed Security Breach, it kind of felt like a chore for me, and it showed. I don't know how I feel about that game. I like it. I like FNAF. I love FNAF. You guys know that. But Security Breach is kind of boring for me. And you can also say I'm really bad at it because I get lost very easily, which is true. I did bitch and complain a lot that there needs to be like objective markers in that game because I don't know where I'm going at all. But I don't know, something about the new FNAF games like Secret of the Mimic and Security Breach, I don't like that playstyle. I don't like it's too much like Poppy Playtime. And I love Poppy Playtime. I was just Huggy Wuggy. But I don't think it works with FNAF. FNAF is FNAF, you know? Like, I like the look at the cameras or open the doors. But with that being said, Sister Location and FNAF World and all that will be coming soon. And I already know one of you guys, Dogger, keeps asking me when the VR content is coming. And boys, soon. I know I keep saying this on stream and in the Discord, but I have a VR headset. I have a Quest 3. I streamed VR a little bit before, but for some reason my Quest 3 will not connect to my PC in order for me to stream it or make videos. But pretty soon I will be getting a cable that allows me to, which I have a cable. I have it, but for some reason my computer's not picking it up. But I will be getting a new cable so I can actually connect my PC to my Quest and be able to stream that. And when that happens, I'll be streaming games like Onward, maybe Hard Bullet, but definitely we're going to be doing the Help Wanted series for FNAF 2, which I'm very excited for. I am a giant scaredy cat, so playing the VR game of these will be really, really entertaining, I think, for you guys to watch, because it's just going to be me screaming the whole time, which I am not scared of making a fool of myself, as you can tell by other things I've done in the past, like the Goth Girl stream or the Milk stream or the Maid Outfit stream. I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself, so I am excited for that. I keep reaching for this chair, and I don't know why I'm reaching for it. Anyways, I'm sorry. But today we're gonna I kind of been on a tangent today, and I guess that's the point of this. This is really just me, a way for me to convey my thoughts to you guys. So this one isn't really as organized as the other two, which I'm sorry. I really didn't have a plan for this one, I'll be real with you. But we're here, and I've enjoyed it so far. I think these past 10 minutes have been fun. What do you guys think? Hopefully you think it's been fun too. But now I'm actually going to get to the story part, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my past because some people ask me about my past jobs. I got my first job at the age of 17. Yeah, that sounds about right. 17 years old. 16. I got interviewed and hired when I was 16, but I didn't start working till I was 17. I worked for a grocery store and I was a bagger, and that was really fun. It was a good first job. I will say that bagging was my first job and I really liked it. I was just, your typical bagger. I stood at the end of the register, putting your stuff in the bags, talking to customers. How are you doing today? What did you say? Anything fun? I'm happy to hear that. Or I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully today gets better. Or have a good day today. Stuff like that. Use my customer service voice, and it was fun. For a time being, I have a lot of stories when I was working at my workplace. A lot of stories. One of them is kind of weird, but I'm going to tell y'all. I was underage when I started working there, and there was these two guys. They were two big gay guys, and the moment they saw me walk in on my first day, they instantly flirted with me, and I was like, whoa, hold on there, partner. I know I'm handsome and all, but I am not on the menu, okay? I am a minor. And what did they say in return to that? Oh, we got Mr. Jailbait over here, and immediately my nickname at my workplace became Jailbait. What? Crazy that was one of my first days on the job to be called Jailbait. And instantly I was like, is this adulthood? I didn't know how to feel about that, but that was literally one of my first days in the job. But as time went on, it was fun. I got some really cool coworkers I got close with. I made good friends with them. I kind of stayed away from those two guys who called me Jailbait. Eventually, both of them got fired for separate reasons, which I was kind of happy about. But it didn't really bother me that much, but whatever. But one time when I was working there, I saw some crazy things. But I was bagging one night, and I hear one of my friends who's on a register across it scream. I'm like, why is he screaming? And when I went to go look over why he's screaming, there was a man who I'll probably say was in his 30s who pulled down his pants and just started peeing at the checkout line. And everyone just looked around and in total shock as this man just started pissing all over the floor. It was one of the most bizarre things. And when I realized right then and there is anything can happen in retail. When you're working in the grocery store, literally anything can happen. I became more than just a bagger at my grocery store. I also helped out in stocking. So sometimes I would go in the back and I would stock items. I worked at curbside. Whenever someone called out on curbsides, they would come ask me if I could go do it for them. And I said, of course. I was PLA, or the parking lot assistant. I would also, I would go in the back and, push the carts from the little shopping cart areas where you return them, grab those, bring them to the front so people had fresh carts. And I was also a janitor. I got taught how to be a custodian because one time a custodian called out, and I had this boss, and me and her were very close. I love this boss. She was one of my favorite bosses. She would always come up to me like, hey, Elijah, you want to learn something new today? I'm like, no. She's like, great, follow me. And I was like, ah. And she would always teach me something. I always learned something. And my janitor shift was also another time where I was completely shocked at how disturbing people are. This is also a gross story, so I'm sorry for telling this, but while I was working a janitor shift, our custodian called out. She came up to me, you want to learn something? No, too bad. I was going around cleaning the store. I was taking out the trash. I was putting in new trash bags, cleaning up, mopping spills, but then I was asked to go clean the bathrooms. And I walked into the guy bathrooms, and if you're a guy, and if you would know this, and if you're a girl, you probably don't, the floor is always covered in piss. I don't know why the bathroom for the men's are always covered in piss. But this time it wasn't. This guy's bathroom was completely clean. I still cleaned the toilets and all that, and there was nothing wrong. Like, literally, it was a nice, clean bathroom. But then I went into the girls' bathroom. And I know it is something that people say, oh, girls are clean and guys are messy. I just want to give a warning for what I'm about to say here. I started cleaning the stalls. And in one stall, it looked like a scene out of a Saw movie. I guess someone got their period and they had a tampon. And I swear to God, it looked like they took their tampon out and started just twirling it. There was blood on the walls, blood on the floor, blood on the ceiling. And it smelled, because all the stalls in the bathroom were like rooms. They weren't like actual like stalls that you're thinking of. They were literal rooms. So you would close the door and you're in a box. And so all that smell stayed in the box. So when you opened the door, all you had was just a smell of like iron just hit you in the face. And it was like a Dexter crime scene. And it was one of the grossest moments. It was like more gross than the guy who was just pissing on the floor at the checkout line of my friend. And so I immediately walked out. I went to my boss and told her, I'm not cleaning that. There was a murder in there. You cannot force me to do that. And I was like, I only have like an hour left on my thing. I'm going to go do something else. And I did. I refused to clean that. I was not a real janitor. I was just filling in for a guy who called out. And that was fun. I'm going to do a little edit real quick right here because my computer screen just went black. Okay, we're back. So that was another story. And then the last story I have from working there was one time I was working as a cart pusher. And as I was bringing like a row of carts to the front, this woman walked up to me and was like, hey, there's these two people who are stealing. And I was like, oh, where are they? It's like, those guys right there. And I looked at them and it was an old man and an old woman. They both had one, the old man was driving an electric cart, and in his basket was like cases of beer and meat. And then the woman also had like a push cart, and in that push cart was also cases of beer and meat. And I was like, oh, they're just blatantly stealing that. But as a employee at a grocery store, they teach you, if there is someone stealing, do not be a hero. Tell your manager and let that be that. Do not follow those guys, right? So I didn't. I went to my boss and I told him, hey, there's two people stealing. And they're like, what? And so he ran out and tried to stop them, but they ended up driving away before he could get out there. And he came up to me afterwards and he started to berate me and was calling me names and telling me, like, if you see someone stealing, you stop them. What are you doing? You're a big guy. Go stop them. And I was like, whoa. I'm making like $13.50. I'm not putting my life on the line for some steaks. But he was like, it is your job to stop them. And I was like, all right, bet. And I shit you guys not, the couple actually came back that same night. I know as unreal as it sounds, it happened. The couple came back later that night and they did the same thing. They had their cart full of beer and meat, both of them. He was in the motorized cart. She was in a regular pushing cart. And when she walked out the front door, I saw them immediately and I ran. I was like, excuse me, can I see your receipt? Excuse me, can I see your receipt? And the woman was like, oh, it's in my purse. Oh, it's in my purse. I'll look in a moment. It's in my purse. And the guy in the shopping cart, he just kept driving. He did not care. He was like, you see me rolling, they hating, right? And he does not care at all. And I'm over here like, ma'am, can I please see your receipt? Ma'am, please show me your receipt. And she was like, it's in my purse, hold on. Eventually, all three of us got to the car, right? And a guy came out of the driver's seat. And this man he looked intimidating. And he just looked at me and started just putting in the beer and the meat into the trunk. And my coworker saw all this happening, went to go like get a manager. He's like, oh my gosh, Elijah's like trying to stop these guys. So he runs to go get a manager. And I was like, there's nothing I can do here. So I'm going to just walk away, right? So they all get in the car. I'm walking away because I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. The guys jumped or got in the car. They swerved out real fast. And when they pulled forward, they tried to curve into me to hit me with their car. I never in my life have ever felt like I was Spider-Man, but in that moment, I had like a spider sense. And I turned around and I saw them swerve into me, and I immediately jumped and dove and like fucked up my elbow by hitting the concrete, but I dove out the way of the car and they ended up leaving. But one of a customer saw that and followed them, got their license plate, and then came back to the store and told me. My boss came out running with my coworker. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened, Elijah? You okay?" And I was like, No, I'm not okay. Someone just tried to fucking kill me. And you think I'm okay? And they're like, "Why did you try?" So the boss who told me to stop them, he was a ASM. So he was an assistant manager. So the real manager came out. He was like, "Are you a fucking idiot? Why did you do that? Why did you intervene? You're not supposed to." I go, "I thought I wasn't supposed to, but Dick for brain, sorry for the language, over here told me I needed to stop them." And the way she had like this evil like look on her, like mad look on her face at my ASM. And she was like, "Is that true? Did you tell Elijah to intervene?" And he was like, well, I mean, he's a big guy. I didn't think that he was gonna, And immediately she was like, "Go to my office and stay in there." We had to call the cops because, they stole. And when the cops came, I told them what happened, and we had the CCTV footage. I need to sneeze. Excuse me. We had the CCTV footage of the whole thing on camera. They watched me as I tried duck out the way or roll out the way as the car tried to hit me. They watched me intervene and all that. I stayed at the store for another 3 hours filling out reports, and I ended up getting a pay raise, which was really nice. And I also got that guy fired. The ASM who told me to stop the robbery got fired too, and I was very happy about that. I bet he wasn't happy with me, but I was like a 17-year-old boy. I was just following orders, I thought I was Captain America. My girlfriend at the time and my mother were both mad at me. It was like, "What are you doing? You are not a superhero." And I was like, I had to protect the store. I needed to protect the store. That meat was unpaid for. They're like, "You are not Captain America. You are not an Avenger. You do not stop crime." And yeah, they were right. I'm not. And I almost got killed, and that was not fun. But I ended up working in that store when I was 17 to, I think, 20 something. I was there for 4 years, so 21. Is that right? I don't know. I quit the store 2 years after I graduated high school. I was there my junior year, and I quit 2 years after high school. So I was there for 4 years. And then after I quit that job, I was unemployed for maybe a month or two. But anyways, I worked that job when I was a junior and senior in high school. And they worked me like a dog, by the way. I got off school at 2:45, and I had to be at work at 3. And then I would work from 3 to 9, 5 days a week. I would work 6-hour shifts 5 days a week, and I would get my 30 hours because I couldn't be full time. But they made sure I got 30 hours. And so I always got home tired. I would wake up at 6 a.m., go to school at 7, be at school all day, get off at 2:45. I would change in my car as I drove to my work, clocked in. Luckily, my job was not far from my school. It was literally only a 5-minute drive, so I usually had 10 minutes to change, whatever. But I would change my shirt and all that. I would go clock in, and then I would work for 6 hours, and then I would come home. I would eat dinner, take a shower, try to play some games with my friends. But the next thing I know, it was already midnight or 1 a.m. and I would go to bed and then wake up 6 or 5 hours later tired, and then I would redo the same thing. My favorite shifts I had were 4-hour shifts. I loved 4-hour shifts. They were really nice. I felt like I was not working at all. In a 4-hour shift, I would have to work for 2 hours, and I got a 15-minute break. Then I had another 2 hours. And those last 2 hours always went like that. They were always so done. But 6-hour shifts were annoying. I mean, I work 8 hours now, but like I remember hating 6 hour shifts, thinking that was so long. But I had two 15-minute breaks for 6 hours, so it wasn't that bad. But yeah, so I worked there for a time being. That was really fun. After that, I became a door-to-door salesman. That was something. I worked for a company. I'm not going to say the name, but I did door-to-door salesman for lawn care, and I was very successful at it. I was a really good salesman, and I made really good money. I have a lot of stories from that. There was one time I knocked on this woman's door, and she was trying to be like a fake. She acted like she was fake, like she was deaf, because she just didn't want to talk to me. So she started fake signing to me, but I actually took 2 years of sign language in high school. And so I knew a little bit of sign language. So I started signing back to her. I said, "Hi, my name's Elijah. How are you?" I don't remember sign language now. So it was something like that. But I did it, and she immediately like had like the 1,000-yard stare on her, because she's like, "Oh, he knows sign language." And she just said, "Fuck you," and slammed the door in my face. And that was one of my funniest moments. There was one time I got my best friend hired with me. And so me and my best friend worked together, and we would go on routes together because I was training him. And we were in this neighborhood, and it's like around 4:30 p.m. And I was like, we're going to wrap it up soon, but I want to go knock on this guy's house. I'll knock on it, don't worry. I go to the front door and I knock. I just go. And I knock on the door, and I'm waiting a few minutes. And then this buff Asian dude opened the door. And he was completely naked, and he was covered in sweat. I think he was in mid getting that work done, right? And he stood there. He opened the door. If you can see the video, I want you to look. He opened the door and just Superman posed. He just Superman posed on me and went, "Can I help you with something?" And he is completely butt nude naked. Everything was out. I could see all of his bits down there. And he just Superman posing like, "Can I help you with something?" I remember just looking at him. And I was like, "Nah, man. Nah." And I just turned around, and my buddy's behind me, and he saw it, and he's laughing. He goes, "Did that just happen?" And I was like, I don't. All right, let's just keep going. And that was I got flashed. I got flashed by that dude. But you know what? That dude was in great shape. And I'm proud of that dude. Good for that man. He was working with God's, like he was working with God when he was made. But that was a very awkward moment for me. And there was a ton of awkward things. On my very first day of being the door-to-door salesman, I got chased by a dog. And I dropped my cell phone that the company gave me. So like I had my own personal phone, but then I had a work phone, and the work phone was my work number. So if I needed to talk to a client, they would call my number and stuff like that. And I immediately dropped it on the floor, getting chased by a dog, and shattered it. And I had to get a new one replaced, and they were really mad at me. But it was a pay plus commission. So I got a base salary and I got commission on top of that. And it worked really well. I had this dude who I was worked with, and he was cool as hell. There was one time, this is even my story. This guy was so good at selling. One time we were supposed to all meet up at the office at like 5, and he wasn't there. And like eventually 5:20 came, and he still was not at the office. And we were like, "Where is he?" So I FaceTimed him because we were friends. I'm like, "Hey man, where are you?" The guy was in a person's house having dinner with him and the family. He sold that guy lawn care and was apparently so nice that the family invited him in for dinner. That was one of the craziest things, because I never got invited for dinner. But this guy, this veteran dude, he was like my age, or he was like a little older than me. He was out of the Navy, I believe. He got invited to dinner, and I was like, "Why? Why did he get?" That's bullshit. I want free food, but yeah. So we all like thought he was really cool. My bosses were really cool. I liked my bosses a lot. Shout out to y'all if you're listening. Those bosses were really cool. But we had a good time. We had to work every Saturday, and I mean, I haven't worked there in like almost 3 years now, so I don't mind saying this. Every Saturday we had to go work in the morning. We had to work from like 8 to 11, so it was a short day, but I hated working on Saturdays. We were supposed to get out of our cars and knock on people's doors on Saturday mornings. I'm not doing that. Look, I like making money, but I'm not going to knock on someone's front door at 8 a.m. in a suburban neighborhood and be like, hey, your lawn looks like shit. Let me take care of it, buddy. Fuck no. I'm sorry I'm cursing a lot this episode, but no, I am not going to do that. So I would stay in my car and just mark houses because we had like a route, right? We had a route and there was a certain route we had to take and there were certain addresses we had to knock on. I'm not knocking on those addresses. So I completely just didn't. I just marked them. But the thing is they could track the phone. So I would walk up and down the neighborhood and then I would check boxes as I walked and then I would go to my car, submit them, and then I would just chill out for like an hour or two because there's no way in hell I'm doing that. Like, I care about privacy. I like, me personally, I do not want someone knocking on my door at 8 a.m. So why do you think I'm going to knock on someone else's door at 8 a.m.? I don't have that salesman life in me. But I ended up leaving that job. I ended up quitting. And I started doing some other things after that. I worked there for a few months. I have a lot of stories from there, but those are the most funniest ones. And then I got a job as a manager, as a social media director. I worked with a few Twitch streamers, and this is I'm gonna tell you a little story. This is a little crazier part. I'm gonna go in more detail on this another time. But during this time in my life, I completely moved out of my state, and I ended up living with one of my friends on Discord. I'm gonna make a little edit right here because my computer screen went black. Okay, we're back. Sorry. I'm not gonna tell the full story. I'll do that for another time. But I will tell. I'll go in vague details. I met this guy on Discord. I knew him for maybe 3 months. He met a girl off Tinder. That very day he met her on Tinder, he told me to fly over to go visit them both. I told him no. I don't know y'all that well. He goes, please. I said, okay. Flew over there. I got a job being an online manager for a Twitch streamer. And then I ended up moving in. I left my state to go move in with a goth girl and her roommate. And then I lived with a goth girl for a bit. And that was really fun. Shout out to you if you're listening. You're not, but I'll probably send you this clip because I'm talking about you. Both of you, actually. No, but yeah, so I ended up living there, but I was a social media manager, which was very fun. It was a very fun time in my life. It was really the only time in my life where I actually felt alive because for the first time, I didn't have guidelines. I had a boss, but like, I didn't like have to wake up at like 9 a.m. I didn't have to clock into a shift when I didn't want to. I got to work on Discord. You know how cool that was? I got to like fuck around and find out. But then things happened. Bad things happened. And I ended up moving back home. Bye-bye goth girls, to be really. But I ended up living with them later. No, but no, but then I lost that job. Things happened. Bad things, which will be an episode for another time. And I ended up going home and I became a pipe mender for a bit. And I ended up working in this HVAC place. Actually, before I even did that, I went back home. I started looking for jobs. And when I started looking for jobs, I found a job as another salesman. I was like, fuck it. So I do this interview with this guy. I'm gonna, you know what? I don't know if I should say the name of the company. I'm not. I go to the interview with this guy and I sit down. I'm wearing a suit, and the guy comments. He goes, "You have a really nice suit." And I was like, "Thank you. I really appreciate that." And we're talking, and I'm not gonna lie, I understand that he is selling me. He's a salesman, right? I was a salesman. I understand we talk, and I knew he was giving me a pitch, and it worked on me because I was like, you know what? Okay. But he told me that the job was mandatory suits. I had to wear a suit every single day. So if I didn't have any more suits, go get them. So I ended up going to the store and spending $1,000 on suits just for me to go on my first day to be the only person in a suit. And I was super confused. I was like, why is no one else in a suit right now? This guy's not in a suit. This guy's not in a suit. She's not in a suit. Where's the suits? And I asked one of them, I was like, hey, man, I'm Elijah. I'm your coworker. We got hired together. Why aren't you in a suit? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, well, blah, blah, blah. The guy who interviewed me told me I need to wear a suit today. And he was like, I didn't get told that. No one told me how to wear a suit. They fucking lied to me. They lied to me. I didn't even like need to wear a suit. And also then more red flags started binging in my head because I realized we're a cell company. I don't even know what we're selling. The man sold me on a company of me selling things where I don't even know what I'm selling. He was the ultimate salesman. So we go in and turns out we're selling phone plans and iPhones. We're going to be working with AT&T, and we were going to be those people who were at Target or at Costco, and when you walk by them, they go, "Excuse me, ma'am, what cell phone provider do you have?" You're telling me that I had to buy suits to go sell, that I had to go buy suits to sell iPhones at Target? No! I immediately quit that job. On the spot, I quit, never went back. And on my way home from quitting that job, my mom texted me and said, hey, look at this address. I went, all right, cool. So I'm driving home, and then I was already passing on my way home, and I saw a help wanted sign outside this warehouse. And I was like, I have no warehouse experience, but I'm a big man. I walked in there, and I was like, excuse me, are you guys hiring? And they go, yeah. I was like, can I have a job application? And they're like, yeah, sure. So they gave me a job application. They asked me what my skills were and all that. And I said, heavy lifting. I'm a big guy. I can lift heavy. But that was about it. They asked me, do I have my forklift license? I'm like, no. They're like, okay, do you have any experience in warehouse? No. So I'm filling out this form, and I gave it to her. She goes, okay, we'll be in contact. But like the little guy I am, the little tiny guy I am, after I left, I found the name of the person who was the manager there, and I sent him an email. I was like, hi, Mr. So-and-so. My name is Elijah. I just came in and left a application, and I saw you guys were hiring. And I would really like a job, and I would really hope that you would give me an interview. And he replied back like 20 minutes later, like, I like your energy. I like that you sent me an email. Can you meet me tomorrow at 5:45 a.m.? All You want to come in at 5:45 a.m.? All right, let's do it. So I went in the next day at 5:45 a.m. and I'm not gonna lie, I wore a suit. I wore kind of a suit. I wore khakis. I wore a pink polo, and I wore a green over a sports jacket. And I called that suit my Cosmo and Wanda. Love that suit. If you know, you know. But yeah, that's my Cosmo and Wanda suit. It's perfect, beautiful. I look so handsome in it. I'm such a handsome guy, am I not? No, but I ended up going in at 5:45 a.m. I sat down with the guy, and when I walked in, it is not at all what I thought it was, by the way, because when I didn't walk into the warehouse, I walked into like their front desk area. So when I walked into the warehouse and saw people working, it was like an assembly line. Apparently what this was an HVAC place where we made air conditioners. And I had no idea how to make an air conditioner. But we ended up going into a back room. We sat down. The guy interviewed me. And he goes, so what do you know about this? I go, nothing. I know absolutely nothing. He goes, so you have no experience at all with HVAC? I go, no, sir. But that's a good thing. And he's like, why is that a good thing? We're trying to hire HVAC people. And this is where my salesman came out, right? I said, well, sir, here's the thing. I don't have any prior knowledge. I don't know anything. And so the way that's good is because my toolbox is empty right now. Whatever you teach me is the way that you obviously want things done, because other companies may do something a different way. But since I'm coming with no knowledge, I obviously will learn the way that you want me to do it, and I will master the way you want me to do it. And over time, my empty toolbox will be filled with many tools of your making. So I'm just a perfect blank canvas for what you want done. You tell me to shoot, I say where. And that guy was like, I love that answer. And I was like, let's go, boys. He goes, think of us as a football team here, and I'm the coach. We're all one big family, and I tell you what to do. And you said, tell me to shoot, and you go where? I love that answer. And I was like, thank you, sir. He goes, you got the job. And I was like, no way. That worked. But I got the job. He goes, come in Monday morning, and we'll give you your position then. And I was like, okay. So Monday morning came, and I ended up getting a position. I was a pipe bender. And that means I worked on 4 heavy-duty machinery, which I had to learn how to take apart, put back together, clean, and stuff like that. And I would just bend pipes all day long for like 8 hours. I would just bend pipes for AC units. And I got very good at the job. I was very fast at it. Apparently, their old pipe bender quit, which should have been a bad sign because he told me like my first day, I got there. He was still working there. That was his last week there. He said he was training me for his last week. He told me to leave. He told me not to stay there, and I wish I listened, but I didn't. But apparently I was really good. They said I was the best pipe bender they've ever had. What can I say? I know my way around pipes, baby. I know my way around pipes, baby. But I was very quick at my job. I made a lot of pipes. I was always ahead of schedule, and because of that, I had a lot of free time. But they don't like free time there. No, they do not. So I ended up learning how to do a handful of other things. I learned how to work on electrical boxes. So I would have to like sit there and actually wire like fuses and stuff like that together to make sure that things perform perfectly. Then I was put on the assembly line. I learned how to plasma weld, which, by the way, plasma welding was one of the funnest things to learn how to do. It's water-based welding basically. And so I would sit there and I would weld pipes together and I would help build these units. If they told me like, hey, you have to make, because each AC unit had like 20 pipes in there. And so how I would learn what to do is like, okay, we're making 20 KP25s units today. So that is 20 pipes per thing, but we're making 20 of them. So we need 20 of each. So it would be 20 each of 20 pipes. So that's about what? 400 pipes right there. I would always make about double. So I would make enough for 40 if they asked me for 20, because the next time they rolled out, we'd have pipes ready. So I always had more, and because I've always made more, I always had more free time to learn other traits. But I ended up leaving that job because my roommates at the time both left, and I was only getting paid $13.50. Now listen, boys. I made $13.50 as a bagger, but now I am pipe bending. I am working on electrical boxes, fuses, and I ended up, welding. And I'm only getting paid $13.50. That's not enough to pay for a 3-bedroom apartment. I was paying for a 3-bedroom apartment, boys. Yeah, that ain't happening. So I quit my job. But before I quit my job, I looked around. And again, my mother actually sent me a link to, my mother's boss had a best friend who worked at, he was an owner of a warehouse. And so they got me an interview, and I ended up getting an interview there, and I think it went really well. They asked me if I was forklift certified. I said no. They said, okay, we'll teach you. They go, I had the interview, it went well in my eyes. I left. But before I left, he goes, okay, we'll let you know in 2 to 3 weeks if you got the job. I was like, bet. 20 minutes later, after the interview, I get a phone call from the guy who just interviewed me. He goes, all right, you got the job. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, start Monday. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, I'm starting next week. He told me this on a Tuesday. And I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy. All right, I'll start next Monday. So I went to my bosses, because when I went to this interview, by the way, I went on my lunch break. I told my bosses at the place where I was bending pipes, I told them that I had like a doctor's appointment or some appointment that I had to go do. So I'm going to be gone for an hour, which I will say I was getting paid like shit. But one thing I loved about that job was I could leave whenever I want, especially because I was ahead of schedule. If I wanted to call in because I was tired or I just didn't feel like working that day, I didn't get paid, but I didn't get penalized. I could call in my boss and be like, hey, I'm not coming in today. All right. Because they knew my job was done. They knew that I was too efficient. So because I've had jobs like already done for like the next 3 weeks, I could call off. And so I would. And so I told them like, hey man, I have a doctor's appointment or some shit. All right, cool. So I went to my interview. And then after my interview, I went to go get Whataburger. And I was in the Whataburger park drive-through 20 minutes later when I got the phone call. And so I ate my burger, celebrating about my good news. But then I went back to work. And when I went back to work, I had to sit down with my boss and be like, hey, so I lied. And like, what do you mean? I go, I didn't really go to a doctor's appointment. I went to a job interview. And they're like, what? I go, yeah. And I got the job. And they go, what? I go, yeah. They go, well, we really like you. You are really like important here. We can match their pay. And I go, can you? So I told them how much I was getting paid. And they went, yeah, it was really nice having you here. We understand why you're leaving. I go, yeah, that's what I thought. And so I ended up training this guy. We had another employee that I had to train for a bit before I left. And that Friday came. I said goodbye to all my friends there. I worked there for like 8 months. I left and I started being a forklifter. I got my OSHA license for forklifting, and I'm still here to this day. And that was 2 years ago. So for the past 2 years, I've been a OSHA certified forklift driver in a warehouse. And I love it. I love driving a forklift. I don't understand all the hype behind it. It's a lot of hype behind driving a forklift, but you know, I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy it. But yeah, that's been my job experiences, some stories from each job too. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed that. This is 47 minutes, but I'm going to edit this video a little bit, so maybe it's going to be like 45 minutes. But this has been an absolute amazing episode. And I'm going to tell you this right now, which I'm really proud about. This is one take. And let me tell you, I have sat down for episode 1 and 2, and it took me like 2 hours to film those videos. It took me so long to film those videos because I kept recording, then deleting, then recording, then deleting because I wasn't happy how they turned out. I sat down in this chair today, and I did a one-take Jake, baby. I'm the GOAT. I really like this episode too. This is, I think, is an amazing episode. Hopefully you guys think so too. Leave a comment down below if you enjoy the video. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the next episode. Hopefully I actually have Board and Alex with me this time, and Jake. But yeah, let me know down below what you want to see in the next video, what you want me to talk about. If you know, follow my socials, links right there or right below me. Elijah.Cooperr with 2 R's on Instagram. ElijahTheManager on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. And I will see you all in episode 4 of the podcast. Thank you all for being here. I've been your host. Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.